Good morning. Start your day informed and ahead. Today is Thursday, the 16th of July. I'm Angela Lagunzad-Castro.
And I'm Cesca Litton-Kalaw. We are bringing you the perfect mix of the headlines you need and the conversations that shape your day.
From the news desk to the digital space, we have got you covered. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and welcome to Morning Matters.
First in the news, the Senate Impeachment Court has deferred its decision on whether to subpoena the tax and bank records of Vice President Sara Duterte and her husband, Attorney Mans Carpio. During a caucus, the senator judges agreed to take up the matter on Monday, giving them more time to study the issue. But before that, the prosecution and defense clashed over whether the records should be disclosed to the public. On day 6 of the trial, House Prosecutor Attorney Chel Jokno and Defense Counsel Attorney Michael Poa faced off in oral arguments. Jokno argued that the public deserves to know the whole truth. He said this can only be established if the impeachment court issues subpoenas for the Vice President's tax and bank records. The prosecution intends to use the records to prove its allegation that Duterte has unexplained wealth. Jokno also cited the impeachment trial of former Chief Justice Renato Corona.
The Philippine Savings Bank President Pascual Garcia III testified before this court in the same Corona trial. He refused to answer the question of then-Senator Judge Franklin Drilon on the starting balance of Corona's 2 peso-denominated accounts. But, if I'm not mistaken, it was Senator Judge Alan Peter Cayetano who said that records of initial deposits are among the quote-unquote opening documents that should have been brought to the impeachment court. Kailangan makita ng publiko at ng mga senator judge ang tunay na kulay ng vice-presidente at larawan ng kanyang buong pagkatao bilang isang lingkod bayan.
But POA countered that due process must be observed at every stage of the impeachment proceedings, including the issuance of subpoenas for the Vice President's tax records. He cited 2 requirements for a valid subpoena, definiteness and relevance. POA claimed the prosecution failed to meet both requirements, and he accused the prosecution of turning the impeachment trial into a mere fishing expedition.
No one is above the law. But in the same manner, no one must fall below or be outside the protection of the law. Impeachment is indeed a powerful constitutional tool. But, Your Honors, impeachment is not a magic word or a magic wand that one can just wave to transform an illegal act into a legal act. When a subpoena becomes oppressive, when it is unreasonable, and when it is merely issued for the very purpose that there is a hope that somewhere, somehow, something incriminating will come out, it ceases to be an instrument of justice. It becomes a weapon of a fishing expedition.
So we caught a glimpse of what happened yesterday. Actually, a lot happened yesterday. A lot were discussed yesterday. But of course, yesterday's impeachment trial procedure was centered on oral arguments on whether the impeachment court should subpoena the bank records of Vice President Sara Duterte. And I remember talking to you about this on the argument of Senator Franklin Drilon. He said also that impeachment court being, he has the sole power to try and decide all the impeachment cases. Therefore, it supersedes all rulings na sinasabi nila. And this is also the defense of the prosecution na may constitutional authority ang impeachment court to subpoena nga itong mga bank records ito ni Vice President Sara Duterte. But of course, ang sinasabi ng defense, this would actually deny the Vice President's due process at sinasabi nga nila hindi ito magic word. And I remember also talking to Attorney Reggie Tongol, spokesperson of the impeachment court yesterday, saying or asking him if this is going to be a constitutional precedent, diba, of opening financial records if ever in the future. Sinabi niya oo. And we can also take note also what Congressman Chel Jokno said, 'di ba, yung inungkat niya during the Renato Coronas trial, na meron din na 'di ba nagsubpoena din ang impeachment court ng financial record. So we'll see what's going to happen also kasi ang sabi nga dito nila, maaring maisubpoena din no ng impeachment court yung bank records, pero ang tanong dito is hanggang saan yung kaya nila or yung gusto nilang ipasubpoena. Because ang nilalaban nila dito is ang prosecution mula 2007 hanggang 2000 ngayon, di ba? Pero ang sinasabi ng defense, bakit ungkatin nyo pa yung 2007? Hindi pa naman siya impeachable officer at that time. It was accumulated.
Another thing that also happened yesterday was the prosecution withdrew 6 witnesses.
Yep.
So, syempre, napag-usapan na naman yung timeline. We had Representative Jervil Ruistro and Attorney Kapunan saying na baka by December, the trial might be over. Hindi naman siguro, sa Attorney Kapunan said, hindi naman siguro aabot ng Valentine's.
Yeah.
And
Naman
then
sana.
also,
Talaga yung concern no?
then also the subpoenas for the next batch of witnesses for Article 1 naman. So, Marivic Pareja, and then the land bank branch managers. Then, ano kaya nangyari sa caucus?
They will decide, but
that's what we
20
want to
natin
know.
malalaman, no? July 20.
Yeah, sa Monday pa daw. They need more time.
Exactly. But I understand also because both sides presented strong legal arguments yesterday. So the senator judges will really have to weigh which is the right path to take in terms of subpoenaing the documents. But going back to the Renato Corona impeachment trial, Congressman Chel Jokno also raised an interesting point that it was Senator Alan Peter Cayetano who even, I think, moved to open the bank record, right?
Those documents should have been part of the initial,
yes.
the opening. Yeah.
So it's we're gonna have to wait and see if Senator Alan Peter Cayetano will be consistent in his position. Will he take a different stand now that he is in the opposition, in the minority?
Pero I remember kasi sinasabi din niya parang nagkaroon siya ng justification at that time daw he didn't want, pero kasi dahil nag-rule na nga yung Senate President at that time si Senator Enrile, wala na siyang magagawa, kaya parang ganun yung parang may siya justification on that. Pero still he's part of that, di ba? Another thing, di ba?
Yung kay Cheese, presiding officer Cheese, back then also in the Corona trial, he also mentioned na some exhibits predated Chief Justice Corona's appointment. But then after the caucus nga, the court decided to allow the evidence also.
Ang ganda nung may mga president.
Yes.
Nakikita natin yung mga
Yes.
nangyayari before na pagkukumpara, and then from then on they can decide from that. Kasi but we were talking about this off cam about yung na-raise na issue before mag-start yung proceedings, yung oral arguments. Go ahead.
So Senator Alan Peter Cayetano had to address, of course, what NBI Director Melvin Matibag said, that they are opening an investigation into the anomalies of the 2019 Southeast Asian Games. Well, at least for the venue in New Clark City, the stadium, right? Sabi ni Director Matibag, insertions were used to fund it in the billions of pesos amount, right? But this is something Senator Cayetano denied yesterday. Sabi niya, he's being, tama ba, attacked, he's being, inuubos na daw ba sila? Yung
Singled out.
Oo, they're being singled out. So, but I remember covering this in 2019. There were a lot of issues already. There were several press conferences from Senator Cayetano where he said, if you want to investigate it, go ahead. We're willing to release our audit report. But parang hindi na rin masyadong na-resolve din yun eh. So I guess it's also good that we open this investigation to see what really happened.
Oo. Kung ba ako, sige, timing yung pinag-uusapan, maaring ganon.
Kasi
It can
7
be
years
viewed
na eh.
that way. But if I can remember it correctly, nung 2020 kasi, di ba, pinaiimbestigahan yan. And I remember si former President Duterte has cleared Senator Cayetano at the time for such anomalies. And Senator Franklin Drilon said na for 50 million plus na sa cauldron na yan, how many classrooms yung pwedeng na itayo na yon, etc. And then they were gonna investigate that, pero nagka-pandemic.
Ay, oo nga.
Nagka-pandemic. So,
Tama.
natigil yun. Pero, nung, I don't know what year yun, merong somebody, a private citizen, nagsampa ng kaso, yung bidding issues naman, kay BCDA dati na chairman, si Vince
Vince
Dizo,
Dizo.
na DPWA secretary ngayon. So,
may
medyo
history
lumalawak,
lesson naman tayo.
can of worms yan.
Yeah.
So, kaya nga, kumbaga, okay, we have flood control projects, we have other corruption issues, then
And then the
we can also look at
2019
this also.
hosting of the SEA Games.
Oo. Okay, mahaba-haba. Sorry naman, napahaba. Ang haba din naman
Saan na
kasi
napunta yung
yesterday.
multiverse,
Sit my
no?
taho.
Okay, but in other news, Angat Dam's water level continues to drop below the critical 160-meter mark as the country prepares for the impact of the El Nino phenomenon. As of July 15, the dam's water level fell to 155.98 meters, down from 156.34 meters recorded the previous day. The reservoir's normal operating level is 210 meters. A Maynilad official said the southwest monsoon and the expected rainfall will have little impact on replenishing Angat Dam's water supply. Meanwhile, a representative of the West Zone concessionaire assured customers that the water supply remains stable but encouraged the public to use water responsibly.
Sobrang natuyo po yung lupa dun sa watershed. So whatever rains that will be happening in the next few days, that will allow us lang po na to saturate muna yung soil, and then after that dun lang po magkakaroon ng inflow, significant inflow dun sa ating watershed to be stored dun sa dam.
I-prioritize po natin yung ating paggamit ng tubig for essential needs talaga. So yung syempre hindi naman tayo dapat na magtipid to the point na i-compromise natin ang ating kalusugan at kalinisan. So hindi po ganun. Ensure lang natin na yung ating pangangailangan ay namimit talaga.
Right, so Pag-asa also continues to warn us that the effects of El Nino are still being felt. The El Nino is still prevailing in the tropical Pacific. That's why we have below normal rainfall. And even though we experienced rain in the past few days, right, Super Typhoon Inday passed, it still wasn't enough to raise the Angat Dam above the critical level. But water companies are already implementing preventive measures. Maynilad, for one, is maximizing alternative water sources. They're also reducing water losses in their distribution network, and they're also providing water support in areas that may experience low water pressure and service interruptions. But of course, we need to highlight na kailangan po talaga natin maging responsible. We need to conserve our water before we totally run out.
Water is a shared resource. Of course, there are ways to minimize wastage. Diba? Like even just washing your hands, turn off the faucet muna habang nagsasabon.
Or while you're
That's what
showering.
While you're showering, also brushing your teeth. There are so many ways to conserve water.
This one, ubusin natin.
Sige na nga, nahiya
Ito,
naman,
mga nandito
nahiya
sa
naman
atin,
ako.
ubusin natin.
Inom na ako ng
Drink your water.
Sayang.
Yeah, but of course, sinasabi nga natin, ang Angat Dam is our major source of water. 90% dito sa Metro Manila nakaasa sa Angat Dam, di ba? So, kaya major concern ito na kahit na we have other sources na mapagkukunan ng water, it's still important na mapunan din natin yung Angat Dam. And I think also, it's also high time na ma-upgrade yung mga aging water facilities natin, 'di ba, para mas maganda yung flow ng water. And kawawa din yung mga nakikita ko yung sa mga farmers, yung mga irrigation, 'di ba? May mga part na super tibak-tibak na yung mga pananim nila because of drought, pero may part naman na lubog sila because of the flooding. So talaga yan, isa din dapat sa ma-address.
All right, moving over to sports. Signal will be the official broadcast partner of the National Collegiate Athletic Association, or NCAA, beginning with season 102 this September. The two-season agreement is expected to expand the league's television and digital coverage, bringing NCAA competitions to a wider audience. The deal was formalized during a contract signing attended by MediaQuest Holdings Chairman Manuel V. Pangilinan, MediaQuest President and Chief Executive Officer Ricky Vargas, NCAA Policy Board President Father Aloysius Maranan, and other officials. The partnership reinforces Signal's commitment to championing Filipino student athletes by providing them with a bigger platform to showcase their talent while bringing the league's action closer to fans in the Philippines and abroad. So I will always have a spot in my heart
Yes, you were a
for the
former courtside
NCAA
reporter.
because that's where it all began for me. I was in the batch of very first courtsides for the NCAA. You know, from last year.
Wow, talaga ba?
Wag na lang daw, baka ma-age reveal.
But yes, this is the country's oldest collegiate league, and I'm very excited to see what will come out of the broadcast partnership between Signal and the NCAA. We know that this is going to be Sir Ricky already mentioned na it's gonna be covered in all platforms, including YouTube and Signal Play.
All right. So welcome to the Signal family, NCAA. You know, I told you this last time, di ba, na a lot of the PBA superstars actually come from the NCAA. So it's a very high-level league. They produce players like Scotty Thompson,
Yes.
Robert Bolick, CJ Perez, Jason
Alvin
Castro.
Patrimonio.
Diba? Galing NCAA
Meron ako
yan
ambag.
So it's exciting to
that's
see
right.
them, di ba, play in this level bago pa sila maging
Yes,
superstar.
Exactly. So ano sabi nga nila, new era indeed, 'di ba? Kasi new home para sa NCAA. And I'd like to think na talagang this is going to be kumbaga parang successful because it's going to expand yung viewership eh. Can you imagine younger audiences will be accessing, 'di ba, ito mga NCAA? Excite naman. Manonood ba tayo ng live sa NCAA?
Ano naman,
Magkakatickets ba tayo?
ayun. And of course, you can watch all our sports leagues already here in
Yes.
Signal.
All right.
Sports.
Don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after a short break.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Day 6 of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial ended without a ruling on the subpoena of her tax and bank records. And for the latest, we now go live to mobile journalist Merimon Reyes. Merimon, so how did the prosecution and defense react to the deferral of the senator judges when it comes to these documents?
Pauline, so far we talked yesterday with Kabataan Party's Representative Rene Co na sinabi while they actually hoped for some of them sa House prosecution na magkaroon na ng ruling as soon as possible, they also respect itong naging desisyon ng impeachment court. Ang sinabi kasi ng the presiding officer, Senator Cesca Litton-Kalaw, the senator judges need more time to study the memoranda from both the defense and the prosecution, stating their cases, whether or not the requested to be subpoenaed BIR, bank records, tax records, AMLAC records should be opened and seen and presented as documentary evidence during the impeachment trial proper. Yun nga lang, hindi siya nangyari kahapon, so it will happen on Monday with senator judges expected to raise questions and potentially have a debate. Ang nasabi kasi kahapon pwedeng around 2 hours ang i-allot na time with the senator judges having the chance to question either the defense or the prosecution at the end of the day still ang target nila for Monday magkakaroon na ang ruling ang korte tungkol dito. Pauline.
Okay, Merimon, baka you can give us a quick overview kung ano yung mga naging argumento ng parehong prosecution at defense dito nga sa kanilang oral arguments.
Pauline, ang tumayo sa House Prosecution Panel is Prosecutor, Congressman, and Attorney Chel Jok. Ang sinabi niya, nakatutok ito sa kapangyarihan ng impeachment court, saying that the impeachment court has the extraordinary, the sole, and the exclusive constitutional powers that can decide what evidence or which evidence is admissible in an impeachment trial. Nung nasabi rin ni Attorney Jokno, yung Bank Secrecy Law, it allows disclosure in impeachment cases. The Data Privacy Act does not bar disclosure pursuant to a valid subpoena. The AMLA confidentiality provisions were also intended to prevent leaks of records and not to restrict the impeachment court. Confidentiality, according to Jokno, should not prevent the discovery of the truth. Ang sinasabi rin dito, yung relevance naman ng financial records ni VP Sara, sabi kasi sa report ng Anti-Money Laundering Council, may significant increase sa financial transactions ni VP Sara Duterte in the years 2007 and onwards. Ito yung mga panahon na Vice Mayor, tapos naging Mayor ng Davao City, itong si Sara, bago naging vice. And financial records are directly related to her fitness or unfitness to remain in office. And thus, the court must examine VP Sara's full record as a public servant. The Constitution expanded impeachable offenses to include betrayal of public trust. This ground covers acts that render a public official unfit to continue in office. And kasama na rin daw dito yung pagpapakita ng bigger picture kung ano nga ba ang naging galaw ng opisina ni VP Sara kahit beyond her vice presidential years. Ang sabi naman ng Defense Attorney Michael Powa, nakafocus naman ito sa due process. Ang sabi, the issue is not whether the court has the subpoena power but whether it can be exercised consistently with due process. Due process applies to all stages of impeachment, and documents must be specifically identified. Requested evidence must be directly related to the issues in the case. The prosecution filed, ito ibinalikan niya sa House Committee on Justice na may filed accusations without supporting financial evidence. Kung kailan daw nag-file ng complaint, saka lang daw naghanap ng ebidensya. Impeachable offenses must occur while holding an impeachable office. So, pinupunto lang nila, etong during VP years lang daw kasi ito ang position na impeachable. Hindi na daw kailangan pang tignan yung beyond her VP years. Ang sinasabi rin, ina-acknowledge ng defense that the impeachment is an exception under the Bank Secrecy Law. However, disclosure is not automatic. And ang impeachment daw, according to Attorney Powa, it's not a magic wand. Pagka minagayway daw, ang unlawful magiging lawful. Fishing expedition lang daw ang nangyayari dito. Pauline.
Alright, so abangan natin kung ano magiging desisyon ng mga senator judges sa Monday. But for now, thank you very much for that report. That was mobile journalist Merimon Reyes. Now, following the deadly school shooting in Tacloban, authorities are stepping up security measures and preparedness drills amid a rise in reported threats against schools nationwide. Mobile journalist Jazz Paredes has this report.
The deadly shooting at San Jose National High School in Tacloban, Leyte on June 22, which claimed 3 lives and injured 20 others, triggered a wave of shooting and stabbing threats in schools across the country. On July 14, one such threat circulated in various Facebook groups from a fictitious account identified as Lucas Garcia, threatening to attack the students and teachers of Doña Juana Elementary School. However, the Quezon City Police District said it did not monitor any credible threat against the school despite the alleged warning of violence. Intelligence validation and increased police deployment were also conducted in response.
Puntahan po agad nila yung Doña Juana School and nagkaroon ng verification or confirmation. Upon coordinating with the parents and the teachers na nakareceive po nung message na yun, nalaman nila na hindi naman po doon nanggaling yung message na.
Based on the initial investigation, authorities believe the message may not have been intended for the school due to the way Doña was spelled in the text. However, the QCPD assured the public that the thread was thoroughly assessed and that security measures remain in place. This is just one of the many threats reported following the Tacloban school shooting. As part of their preparations, schools are now conducting not only regular earthquake drills but also active shooter drills. These drills are designed to prepare students and school personnel for the possibility of an active shooter incident by teaching the appropriate actions to take during an emergency. Meanwhile, Police Brigadier General Randy Glenn Silvio, Director of the Quezon City Police District, said they have also implemented student security protocols in coordination with the Quezon City Local Government Unit.
4 na senaryo yon. At ang gusto kasi ni Mayor Joy Belmonte na may train talaga yung mga estudyante, parang yung reaction natin sa quick drill. Dapat ganon din ang natin sa mga estudyante. Alam nila kung anong gagawin in case merong active shooter, stabbing incident, bomb threat, and yung riot inside the classroom.
According to Silvio, it is important for students to undergo simulations and training.
Before, during, and after. So yung before, we will train, organize yung isang klase, organize, then train and equip. So i-train natin yung training, yun yung simulation exercise. Tapos yung equipment, yung lahat ng nandun sa loob ng classroom, including your bags.
He also emphasized the importance of students being knowledgeable of the immediate action drills, followed by a debriefing to assess areas for improvement in schools' emergency response. Meanwhile, strengthened security measures have also been implemented in schools as part of the DILG's Safer Metro Manila Plan, which aligns with the government's broader Safer Cities and Safer Communities initiative.
Since yung in-implement natin yung Safer Metro Manila, ang instruction po ng ating SILG na 1 police officer and 1 barangay tanod ang magbabantay po sa schools natin.
In addition, all station commanders are part of Viber groups that include representatives from every school to ensure faster coordination and response during emergencies. For now, Silvio recommends that active shooter drills be conducted every quarter so that schools remain prepared for any potential threat. Meanwhile, the QCPD will conduct an
1
active
barangay
shooter drill
tanod
and other
ang
emergency drills
magbabantay
in
po sa
coordination with the DILG
schools
and the Quezon
natin
City
from
Local Government Unit on Friday, July 17. Kapatid Jas Paredes, we are One News.
Now don't go away because Money Talks with Kathy Yang is up next to get you ahead of the markets. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Stay tuned to One News.
Good morning mga kapatid. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Vice President Sara Duterte's defense says it is now shifting its focus to Article 1 of the impeachment case following the prosecution's withdrawal of some witnesses under Article 4. Defense spokesperson Attorney Michael Poa says the move is the prosecution's prerogative and the defense may also drop some of its own witnesses later in the trial. Poa adds the team remains ready to cross-examine NBI Director Melvin Matibag next week. On the pending subpoena request, the defense maintains that due process must be observed at every stage of the proceedings. Poa says they will wait for the impeachment court's ruling on Monday before considering any legal remedies.
Now to help us assess the political impact of Day 6 of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial, we are joined by political strategist Ms. Malu Tiquia. Good morning, Malu, and welcome back to Morning Matters.
Good morning, ladies, and good morning to
Good
all
morning.
your viewers. And
Okay, so first of all, Malu, how would you assess this trial so far? We've already seen 6 days of this historic impeachment trial, but for you, who appears to have the momentum?
oh, I think both camps would probably have their own respective momentum in the sense that the prosecution is claiming that they were able to prove grave threat in their presentation, while the defense is saying that the person you placed there, digital forensic expert, is not really an expert, and Attorney Lotok doesn't actually have the needed information in order to establish intent. Um, what strikes me is the prosecution was able to present the video. My take there is that should have not been presented at all, for the simple reason that the public doesn't really know what really happened during that dawn presser. Now everyone is having a sense of nangyari pala talaga yon. It wasn't clear for the defense whether they are saying it is authentic. I guess we will have to wait for the turn of the defense, because right now the procedure is the prosecution will present all the 4 charges and their witnesses and their evidence, and then the defense will be able to come in with their own evidence and witnesses. So medyo mahaba, and to summarize, that Day 6 was really for the prosecution or the defense may not be right at this time. Ang nagiging problema ko lang dun sa 6 days is it's so technical.
Right.
When you do social listening, which we do, of the audience, listening in, tuning in, you will see a certain up at the start, and then it tapers down, and then so the interest of the public is not there when it becomes very, very technical, and only lawyers can appreciate what each side is doing. So my sense there is, the bigger part of this impeachment is really the public opinion, and creating those so many objections and technical what do you call this tactics may not be to the interest of the public who wants to know ano ba yung evidence,
Right.
sino ba yung mga witness, meron bang violation, yun lang naman, tatlo yun eh.
Kumbaga, nagtutune out yung mga tao because of some of the legalese. But of course, Ms. Malu, there were withdrawal of witnesses from the prosecution side. It was done yesterday and the other day. What do you think about it? What does this signal?
Well, I am surprised because Attorney Zulueta Lopez was supposed to be, how do you call this?
A hostile witness.
A hostile witness, thank you. A hostile witness of the prosecution. The fact that they surprised everyone with that, and there was a list, so many list of names, ako ang sense ko, it was propaganda eh. You come up with one charge, which is for them the biggest chance of conviction, which is grave threat, and then all of a sudden you withdraw the hostile witness. My sense there is the two witnesses presented by the prosecution was not able to establish intent. Bakit nagkaganon si VP? No? Parating tinatanong. Yung una, sinasabi niya wala daw siyang personal knowledge. Ito naman pangalawa, puro technical problems with the subpoena and the affidavit. And then, you know, when once asked, do you think that there was intent? Sa palagay daw nila, may kinuha ng assassin pero wala siyang personal knowledge. Those are not conclusive, no? So, ang sense ko, yung pag-withdraw is Attorney Lopez will be able to say to the trial court that yes, I was there, yes, this happened to me, and that is why the Vice President went to my custodian room and was able to say that. Kasi ang kailangan i-establish doon, bakit nagtawag ng press conference na madaling araw?
Right.
The intent was really to stop transferring Attorney Lopez to the Women's Correctional at Dawn. Bakit? So, yun yung hindi ko maintindihan ba't sila nag-withdraw, and then nag-withdraw sila in the middle of everything, you know. Of course, they said, you know, redundancy, surplusage, etc.
For them kasi na-establish na daw nila yung betrayal of public trust.
Pero dapat tinanong mo, bakit nagkaganon? Ba't yung utterances, no? Parating sinasabi ni Attorney Lotok, the utterances determines a pattern. So bakit nagkaroon ng utterances na ganon? Yun ang hindi natin nakita kasi kung pumunta dun yung si Attorney Lopez at saka yung isa kasi is the, I think, Sergeant at Arms at the time.
Ng House of Representatives.
Oo.
Bello,
So
Bello.
mako-connect mo dun sa ini-establish nung dalawang nauna. Ngayon, yung kay Matibag, that's a surprise. There's talk going around that he will claim that there is an assassin, but he cannot reveal it because of national security. So, you know, it's weaponizing the whole process. Let's just establish what is the evidence, what are the evidence, and are the witness fit, and they have personal knowledge of what happened. Yun ang kailangan para hindi nagugulo yung nangyayari at naiintindihan ng taong bayan ano ba talaga itong grave threat.
You already mentioned a while ago the public want to know, and of course the public need to know. But with regard, by the end of yesterday's hearing, the defense complained about the prosecution's explanations on why they withdrew witnesses, and the impeachment court reminded both sides to stop explaining. But again, on the public side, for the people watching, that's how we understand, kaya siya hindi natatawagan dahil ganito. So can we get your stand on this?
Oo, alam mo, Kasi napakahaba nung dalawang witnesses eh. Hindi ko maintindihan ba't inalaw na ganon kasi kung paulit-ulit na yung sagot, 'di ba? So sana na-explain rin sa public kung bakit nagwi-withdraw, hindi lang yung manifestation na ganon. Nasabi kung bakit surplusage, kung bakit redundant, you know. Kasi importante yun sa public kasi 'di ba ina-announce nila ang susunod ng mga witness ito. So yung publiko naghihintay syempre yan, kumukuha ng time kung ano man yung ginagawa nila para mapakinggan ano ba talagang nangyari. So sa tingin ko itong sa grave threat, walang klaradong na-establish unless yun nga they are able to present an assassin and there was a contract. The reason why I do not like the video to be played is because merong conclusion na sinabi si Attorney Lotok eh. It shows fitness to hold office. And that is a conjecture. Kailangan in-establish nila bakit naging ganyan si BP. Anong nangyari? Yun nga yung sinasabing mens rea or intent. Hindi naman napakita ng klarado.
Pero Malu, why is it still so important to establish context? Kasi kung tatanungin yung prosecution for them, na-establish na daw yung authenticity and the provenance of this video, and the mere utterance of these grave threats for them already constitute a violation of the Constitution and betrayal of public trust because the Vice President, as the second highest official of the land, is expected to conduct herself to a very high standard.
Yeah, well, the context is very important because of such a framing of such conclusion, no? That the vice president has to show proper decorum, the language she used. You know, I hasten to say that tama yung sinabi ni Attorney Binluan. She is not here as the vice president. She is mother, sister, you know, daughter. Lahat tayo ng mga Pilipino in one time of our, siguro yung iba marami, sa akin marami, minsan nagwawala, minsan nagagalit, minsan may nasasabi tayo, but that is not the sum total of the character of the individual. Kasi kailangan kang bumabalik dun sa sinabi mo, Pauline, yung context. Kailangan makita. Bakit, kunyari, may nanaksak. Bakit nanaksak? 'Di ba? May nagalit, may nagtapon ng libro. Bakit nagtapon ng libro? Importante 'yon kasi hindi tayo pwedeng humusga base sa utterances lamang. Kailangan may proof. Kaya ang feeling ko dito sa charge number 4 na ginawa nilang una dahil sabi nila dito talagang madadapa si BP. Are you establishing the character to hold office? That is not impeachable. 'Di ba? What may be impeachable is ano bang nangyari? Nag-threaten. Yung threat ba ginawa? May nangyari ba? May namatay, may attempt. Yun ang evidence ay dapat doon binibigyan ng katibayan para maintindihan ng taong bayan.
But of course, Ms. Malu, other people would say na by providing context, does it justify the utterances, the threat na binigay ng Vice President to the President?
No. Point blank, no. But the context will tell you what is the frame of mind when she said those things. It doesn't justify threatening anyone in a democratic country, no? But you will always have to go back to bakit sinabi? Ano bang nangyari, no? At ang gusto ko nga sana pagkatapos ng prosecution makapag-present na ang defense kaso hindi yun ang napag-agreehan nilang sistema. Oo. So parang i-hold mo yung conclusion mo sa isip mo, hihintayin mo ang defense na bumalik para i-present yung witness nila on grave threats, no? At makikita doon lamang natin mako-conclude, oo, no? So right now, it's kind of hard because you're just making a decision based on two witnesses who, in my book, one is not an expert and the other one did not investigate thoroughly uh, the acts that are being alleged.
Yesterday, we also heard the oral arguments for both sides. And Representative Chel Jokno mentioned, Senator Alan Peter Cayetano back in the Corona trial as well. And I just wanted to ask you, how would you compare the current set of prosecutors and defense attorneys to those during the Corona and maybe the Estrada trials, and not just the prosecution and the defense, also the senator judges? Like, any similarities, marked differences?
Mahirap yung tanong mo, Cesca. Naku, maraming magagalit sa akin. Pero, I will try to answer. Yung mga prosecutor at defense dati, may gravitas eh. Yung mga senador, may gravitas. Pag tumayo, alam mong may laman at may sasabihin. Hindi ko sinasabing walang gravitas itong set. Pero even the way they deliver, the way they verbalize, articulate, they visualize the language so that Filipinos will be able to understand. Ibang-iba. Ito parang, I'm sorry to say, parang magkakabarkada, magkakaedad, batuhan sila.
Todo mo na, Miss Malu, wag ka na
I know,
maging
please
mabait.
don't hold back.
We wanna hear.
Diba?
We wanna hear it from you.
Parang hindi mo maiko-compare dun sa impeachment. Yun na lang, hindi mo maiko-compare sa impeachment ni President Erap at ni CJ Corona. Yung mga senator judge, no? Siguro it will take time for them to get the hang of it. Yung iba kasi hindi pa alam yung kung nabasa mo ba yung brief, naintindihan mo ba, no? Maraming catching up. At iilan lamang ang lawyers dito sa 20th Congress, unlike before na maraming lawyers, kaya nakakapagtulungan, nasasabi kung ano. Ang namimiss ko yung mga likes ni Justice Cuevas, 'di ba? Yung talagang may gravitas. Si kahit nung panahon ni Estrada, yes, talagang mga kuwan, pag nagsalita, talagang may laman. Tapos kung ikaw yung sa prosecution or defense, parang magugulat ka, iisipin mo, oo nga, no, tama siya. So yun yung kuwan. Walang elder statesman or stateswoman. Imagine if Miriam was alive and she's there. Imagine if Marcoleta was there. Wala yung razor sharp na batuhan eh. Lahat objection lang ng object, tapos magro-rule.
But also to be a fly on the wall at that caucus, ha?
Yes. Diba? So, but this is what we have in the Senate. So, I hope they step up because the public is really, this is the first time kasi na Vice President sa ating parliament, sa ating impeachment history. At saka second time na ma-impeach. So, sana napaghandaan ng maayos.
Pero Malu, do you agree that aside from gravitas, ang hahanapin din dito ng taong bayan yung consistency mula sa senator judges? I'm asking that because Congressman Chel Jokno pointed out yesterday that during the Corona impeachment trial, Senator Alan Peter Cayetano actually supported the presentation of initial financial documents to be subpoenaed, diba? And yan din yung point of contention ngayon. So how do you think he will vote on this matter as well as the other senator judges na rin?
Alam mo, masyado lang direct yung maganda yung delivery ni Attorney Chel Jokno at saka ni Attorney Mike Powa. Yung presentation nila crystal clear yung difference. Tama ka na si Senator Cayetano for the previous impeachment, ganun yung desisyon. I think they will have to debate on that publicly instead of going to caucus, because caucus, people are not there, people do not know what happened. So I'm looking at the Monday when they are able to question directly both Attorney Jokno and Attorney Fowa for their points. Yun lang, mahirap kung titingnan mo si Senator Cayetano kasi yun yung posisyon niya before. Magbabago ba siya? Depende. Siguro he will come up with elements why he will change his decision now. But yeah, you're correct. Historically, he made that motion and manifestation before.
Now, Balu, sabi nga nila na tapos napakahaba nitong oral arguments na to yesterday on the issue of the BIR box, kung dapat ba ipasapina ng impeachment court or not. But also, there's a shortcut to this. Why shouldn't the President write letter of request para matapos na ito? Or this will also look like the President is nangingialam, which in fact, sinasabi ng kampo niya na hindi naman daw sila nangingialam dito sa impeachment trial na ito.
Well, I mean, I'm going against that statement. Nangingialam sila para mabawasan yung mga senator, judges, no? Makikita mo talaga yung pangingialam at saka yung weaponizing the process. Having said that, tama ka, Angela, na ang presidente lamang ang pwede na magpabukas nun. Ang nagsalita na rin sila na pinag-aaralan ng Pangulo yung kung gagamitin niya yun na susulat siya sa BIR para buksan yon. Two things. Mahirap gawin dahil pag binuksan mo yan, lahat sunod-sunod na yan. So, pwede yang ma-invoke kahit dun sa flood control, no? Pangalawa, paano ang privacy? Kasi pag binuksan mo yan, si Attorney Mans Carpio ay private individual. So, yun yung medyo ticklish issue doon. Pero tama ka, the only way BIR will open that is if the President says so.
Alright, so marami pa tayong aabangan, 86 more days to go in this 92-day impeachment trial.
Countdown ng Christmas.
Kumbaga parang one article impeachment done, almost done,
Almost.
3 more to go.
Buti
So,
na lang,
we'll see you again.
Yeah. So, salamat and good morning.
Alright,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was political strategist Malu Tiquia. Now, don't go away. We still have more matters to discuss after this quick break. Keep it here on One News.
Good morning. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News.
Senator Rodante Marcoleta has been transferred to the new Quezon City jail after doctors declared him fit to stand trial. AUP-PGH medical team said Marcoleta has recovered from mild pneumonia, while his hypertension is now under control. The court ordered his transfer from the PNP General Hospital despite concerns from his lawyers about the jail's medical facilities. The BJMP and the DILG assured the public that Marcoleta will receive proper medical care but no special treatment.
Yung x-ray, nag-clear up na yung pneumonia, yung kanyang hypertension, controlled na. At that's why, based on those information, we concluded that he doesn't need further confinement in the hospital. And Senator Marcoleta is fit to attend court proceedings.
Malacanang said Vice President Sara Duterte's own statements are sufficient to support the allegations against her, rejecting her claim that no evidence has been presented. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the Vice President herself admitted to speaking with someone to allegedly kill President Bongbong Marcos, First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Castro argued that there was already a meeting of the minds between the alleged mastermind and the person allegedly willing to carry out the act.
It was the Vice President who admitted in this video that she had already talked to a person who was willing to kill the President, the First Lady, and the House Speaker. Ano pa ba ang dapat na patunayan? Mismo ang abogado niya ang nag-justify kung bakit niya nasabi ang ganong klaseng mga salita. Unconventional, hindi normal na pagkilos at pananalita o pag-react. Ang burden of evidence ay nagsishift sa tao na umamin na siya ay magpapapatay.
Senators Alan and Pia Cayetano questioned NBI Director Melvin Matibag's announcement of a probe into alleged 2019 SEA Games fund irregularities, calling it an apparent attempt to intimidate senator judges ahead of his testimony before the impeachment court. Senator Pia said Matibag could have conducted the probe quietly instead of publicly announcing it before appearing as a witness. Meanwhile, Senator Allen denied allegations of unliquidated SEA Games funds and said the NBI probe could affect the integrity of the impeachment court. He maintained that his objections to Matibag's schedule were raised in good faith.
As Senator Allen said, he could do it quietly. Go ahead. Anong purpose niya? Nagyayabang siya? What's the purpose? Is he trying to intimidate us not to ask him tough questions when he is our resource person next week? I do not know. But those statements, those actions are not acceptable, possibly contemptible.
Director, hindi mo kami natibag. So wag mo try itibagin tong representation na to o itong impeachment court because what you're doing is not helping. You investigate whatever you want to investigate. You want to investigate ba't ako nagpatubo ng balbas? Investigate mo, no problem with me. Pero wag mo nang i-announce kasi nga naaapektuhan yung integrity ng court.
Stay tuned. Morning Matters returns after a quick break.
Good morning. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The Senate Impeachment Court has deferred its ruling on the prosecution's request to subpoena Vice President Sara Duterte's bank records, tax documents, and records from the Anti-Money Laundering Council. Presiding Officer Senator Cesca Litton-Kalaw said the senator judges agreed during a caucus that they need more time to review the prosecution's motion. The Senate Impeachment Court is expected to rule on the prosecution's request on Monday. Meanwhile, National Bureau of Investigation Director Melvin Matibag will be the House Prosecution Panel's final witness on July 21 after the panel dropped several other witnesses.
For more perspective on the Senate impeachment proceedings, we now speak with Attorney Michael Yusinko, Senior Research Fellow at the Ateneo Policy Center. Good morning, Attorney, and thank you for joining us. Nice to see you.
Good morning. Good morning, Angela. Good morning to all your viewers and listeners.
All right, Attorney, after 2 weeks of impeachment proceedings, what's your overall assessment of how the Senate Impeachment Court has handled the case so far?
Well, from the perspective of our Constitution, it's very disappointing. What we've seen is very disappointing. And the reason for that is what the people involved have done is to pretend to pretend that this is a court of law. No, yung mga tao, all of the people involved in the impeachment trial are pretending that this is a court of law, while at the same time also shamelessly acting in a political theater. So the combination of both has brought us into this mess. No? Specifically, a perversion of the impeachment process. No? The senators and the lawyers are acting as if this is a court of law when it is not. but at the same time performing to the peanut gallery. So those two realities have perverted the impeachment process, and therefore, from the perspective of our constitution, it's very disappointing to see that it has come to that.
Attorney, one of the private prosecutors, former Supreme Court spokesperson Theodore Te, had a Facebook post where he was saying that the impeachment trial should be more inquisitorial than adversarial. And to your point, that seems to be what's also happening now, that the impeachment court looks like it's leaning more towards a judicial atmosphere than a political one. Can we just get your thoughts on this?
Yes, Cesca, I think he's onto something. Attorney Te is onto something. And it's not just the fact that this has become like a judicial process, but the protagonists are also perverting this attempt at making it a judicial process. No? Because impeachment really, if you look at the original design, which is patterned after the U.S. Constitution, it should be about addressing a particular issue, and that's the fitness of a high official to be in office. No? So the offense concerned should be that grave and that big that the fitness of the impeached official is, there is an urgency involved to remove that person in office, no, that high official in office. So we've lost that. We've lost that element. And kahit ano na lang na charge nangyayari na ngayon, no? That's why we have 4 articles of impeachment. And what we have is like a mockery of a judicial proceeding. So I think Attorney Te's post is consistent with what impeachment should really be as designed in our constitution.
Well, you're right, Attorney, because it seems the line between an impeachment trial and a criminal trial is getting blurred here, right? This process has become too technical, too judicialized, and too legalistic. So how would you differentiate the two, a criminal trial, an impeachment trial, and what should the public, the councils, and maybe even the senator judges remember here?
That's a great question, Pauline, and actually the difference is very simple. In a criminal trial, what we are trying to prove is a crime. There is a technical definition to it, right? And in addition to that, in the process of proving that crime, the quantum of evidence is very high, the highest, the strictest, and that's proof beyond reasonable doubt. Now, in the impeachment trial, it's totally different. An impeachment trial, there is no objective to define a crime. In other words, there is no effort, there should be no effort to come up with or to meet the technical definition or the technical requirements of that definition. In addition to that, the quantum of evidence in an impeachment trial is not proof beyond reasonable doubt. It is clear and convincing evidence, which means evidence that a regular person like you and me will believe as true. So it is not proof beyond reasonable doubt, but it's simply evidence that a regular person would believe to be true, such as the video that everyone watched of the Vice President making those utterances. So the difference between a criminal trial and an impeachment trial is actually stark. So it's really amazing and remarkable that those who are involved in the impeachment trial are able to blur the two types of trial as if they're mixed up.
Well, attorney, as we would always say, this is a political process, and whatever the outcome may be, this will definitely shape our political landscape. Now, having said that, the center judges are expected to be impartial. And based on your observations, the way they are conducting themselves, the way they are questioning the witnesses, the manner of the questions, do you believe that the center judges will actually decide based on the evidence presented, or they will actually prioritize their political career, political ambition, and that of the public perception?
That's a great question, Angela. And, we hope that it's a very difficult question to answer, but it's not. No, the answer is pretty obvious now that a lot of the senator judges will probably vote based on political calculations. And we've already seen that they will go through lengths to make sure that their political agenda is protected. No? Now, I say that because most of them are very eager to talk, right? Very eager to ask questions in the guise of making clarifications, but obviously we know that what those questions are for, right? So while we want the senator judges to appreciate the evidence presented before them and base their decision on that, I think most of them, particularly those who are always talking and hogging the limelight, it's pretty obvious that they will be voting not based on the evidence, but most probably according to what they want in 2028.
And on that note, we've spoken to several people, and I think Angela also interviewed former Senator Franklin Drilon on how this could be Presiding Officer Chis Escudero's redemption arc. We just wanted to get your thoughts on how he's been handling the proceedings so far as the presiding officer, and if this is indeed possibly his redemption arc.
I don't have any thoughts about this being a redemption arc, no, because whatever offenses he's being accused of is still there, right? The suspicion of his involvement in the flood control scam is still there. It won't disappear just because he's now the presiding officer. So that redemption arc theory to me is, well, not significant. But as for his performance as presiding officer, well, it's pretty clear that his legal background, his being a lawyer, is helpful. No? But it's also contributing to the pathology that I just mentioned before, that the impeachment trial is being formed or reformed into a criminal trial. His background as a lawyer is good if this were a criminal trial or if this were a judicial trial. But probably because of his legal background, his lawyer background, it's making the judicialization of the impeachment trial much more palpable. So I know maybe that's not a good thing, right? Because what we want is an impeachment trial that is not trying to pretend or trying to be a judicial trial.
Well, attorney, in terms of article number 4, which is about the grave threats, it seems the prosecution is ready to wrap up its presentation. Their last witness is attorney Melvin Matibag on Tuesday. But what do you think? Do you think the prosecution has been able to establish the evidence already? And do you still think this is the strongest article among the 4?
Well, in the beginning, I never really considered, this ground as impeachable. But after hearing Attorney Lotok, I think the tide has turned in my mind. No, I think the prosecution was able to prove that the utterances were made. I think that's already established that Vice President Duterte made those utterances. No? So that's not a problem anymore for the prosecution. I think what they still need to do, or at least strengthen, is to show that those utterances amount to a betrayal of public trust and a culpable violation of the Constitution. Attorney Lotok touched on that briefly, and I think it's what um, convinced me that this is a strong ground now. No? So for the next witness for the prosecution, I think they have to buttress that, no, that those utterances are indeed can be considered as a betrayal of public trust and a culpable violation of the Constitution. That's the only part that I think that is lacking, or at least needs strengthening.
How exactly, attorney? I mean, for the prosecution, they already established the authenticity, the source, the provenance. So how can they still establish that this was a betrayal of public trust?
Well, that's a great question, and my unsolicited advice is they have to provide an expert view, an expert opinion to help the senator judges understand that those utterances can be considered as a betrayal of public trust, because the term betrayal of public trust and culpable violation of the Constitution, these are legal terms. These are constitutional terms that have constitutional meaning. So for the senator judges to put the two together, the utterances and those legal definitions, those legal meanings, they will probably need help from a constitutional expert or an impeachment expert, so that they will be able to justify whether a conviction or an acquittal is forthcoming. So right now, that link is still weak. The link between the utterances and those constitutional definitions of betrayal of public trust and culpable violation of the Constitution. For me, as a litigator, it's still weak, and for the prosecution, they have to sort of solidify that in the minds of the senator judges.
Now, on the issue of BIR box, I remember during the impeachment case of the late Justice Corona, it was former President Noynoy Aquino who wrote or gave a written request to the BIR to unseal or open or give or issue bank statements of Justice Corona. But this time around here in this case, in the impeachment case of Vice President Sara Duterte, should the President also, which is President Bongbong Marcos, issue or write a written request para matapos na ma-unseal itong BIR box na ito, mapag-usapan yung financial records ni VP Sara, or this will look bad doon sa side ni President Bongbong Marcos, saying na baka nakikialam siya dito sa usapin ng impeachment?
Well, it all depends on what the impeachment court does, right? If the impeachment court denies the motion, then there's no reason for President Marcos to, make that decision to open or to give access to the BIR records. On the other hand, if the impeachment court grants the motion, President Marcos has no choice but to give his permission to open the BIR records. So unilaterally, President Marcos can't act because there's no reason for him to act, right? So if he does give his permission without any prompting from the impeachment court, then obviously that is susceptible to criticism as a political vendetta or a political move against the vice president, which, he shouldn't do, right? So whatever the impeachment court decides on regarding the motion, President Marcos really has no choice. If it is granted, then he has to give the permission to give access to the BIR records of Vice President Duterte.
Attorney, we only have two impeachment cases that made it to the Senate. Both resulted in removal. Former President Estrada was deposed via people power, and Chief Justice Corona was convicted. Just in terms of our history with impeachment trials, what are the lessons and takeaways that we need and the precedents that we need to understand that were set by these two trials that we need to bring into, or how does it compare to this current impeachment trial?
That's a great question, Cesca, and very difficult to answer. All I can say now is that given everything that we know with the three impeachment trials, I think we really have to revisit. We have to revisit what the impeachment mechanism actually means or truly means in the context of our Constitution. So, in the impeachment trial of President Estrada, I was there personally and I saw it. There was already an attempt to make it like a judicial process. So there was already an attempt to mirror the judicial procedure of a trial. Now, there was also an attempt at that time to be loyal to the original design, which is the copying from the mechanism that's provided in the U.S. Constitution. So it was, kumbaga parang noon, they were trying hard to sort of blend the two thinking together, making it like a judicial process to localize the context, but also being loyal to the original design. Now, in the Corona trial, it was more of the same, right? It was more of the same. There was no changes made or adjustments made, except that in the Corona trial, I think the senator judges were given more leeway to act less as judges, but more as advocates, giving them more opportunities to ask questions, giving them more time to confront witnesses and counsels, which, by the way, is not provided in the U.S. model. The U.S. model specifically prohibits senator judges from talking, from dialoguing with counsels and the impeached official. So this is where we have a local flavor, And now in the third impeachment trial, we see that this has gone bananas already. This particular aspect of our impeachment trial. Senator judges now are basically like litigants already, and counsels for the litigants already. And that has made our impeachment model perverse in that sense, because now even senator judges can act as advocates for the parties involved. So if we are learning lessons here, I think that will be number one in the list. Senator judges becoming advocates in the impeachment trial, which is contrary to the original design which is found in the U.S. Constitution.
Well, outside this impeachment trial, attorney, there are also several political developments and investigations, including that of the NBI, which attorney Melvin Matibag just announced recently, and that is they're opening an investigation into the anomalies of the 2019 Southeast Asian Games. Now, yesterday, Senator Alan Peter Cayetano made a manifestation, a representation, calling it unfair, saying that if the NBI wanted to investigate it, they should have just done it quietly without announcing it ahead of attorney Matibag's testimony on Tuesday. So what do you make of the timing? Some are calling it ill-timed and suspicious. So what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, you can say that the timing is suspicious, right? But it's the job of the NBI to investigate, corruption allegations. Obviously, we can hold the NBI to account for making the announcement public. Again, connecting it to the impeachment trial. But I still find it, ridiculous for an impeachment court composed of 19 senators to be intimidated by a mere announcement. By a mere announcement of an investigation. I don't see the sense there, right? That an impeachment court comprised of many individuals, senators at that, would even be intimidated by this kind of investigation. Right? As a matter of fact, some of the senators are currently being investigated, right? Even the presiding officer is currently being investigated by the ombudsman. So all that drama about intimidation and timing, well, it's just that, all drama, to bring attention, to them, I suppose, to hug the limelight for many minutes in the impeachment trial, but I don't see the intimidation factor here.
All right, and with that, thank you so much for sharing your time and your insights with us. That was attorney Michael Cinco, Senior Research Fellow at the Ateneo Policy Center. Thank you, attorney.
All right, don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after a short break. Good morning, mga kapatid. You are still watching Morning Matters.
All right, now that's it for today's news. But before we go, we're going to talk about some of our key takeaways still on the impeachment. Marami tayong aabangan next week.
But we will watch out for what is going to be the decision of the impeachment court. No? Because yun nga, ang magiging proseso kasi niyan, they will issue the subpoena, if they will issue the subpoena of the bank records of the Vice President. And then, kasi ang nangyari daw before yung kay Corona, they asked the BIR Commissioner, which is si Kim Henares. So she went to the court, the impeachment court, and asked pala former President, late President Nonoy Aquino, to issue a written request para ma-unseal, ma-open yung BIR box. So we'll see what's going to happen.
Well, thanks to Ms. Malutikia, our word for the day is gravitas.
Gravitas. Wala daw si si Senator Marcoleta, kung nandoon siya, may gravitas.
Oh, okay.
All right, that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. I'm Angela Lagunzad-Castro.
We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. I'm Cesca Litton-Kalaw.
Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Kapatid, we're one news.
All sides?
All the time.